So we went in there, and there were only the two Indians and the bartender that were in there at the time. And so, you know, we sat down, we both had a beer, and we heard them talking, and it was like, whoa, unbelievable. And that's when we had the bartender come over, and we bought them some beers, and then my uncle said hello to them.
What did they make you, like Elizabeth Warren, like a 1/16th Indian? You were real white?
No, they were Indian. These guys were World War I. And this is what year was this? 74. Yeah, it was about 74, 75. And so yeah, they were feeling their age because they were about that age. About that same age. So yeah, it was interesting because. Like I said, they would go from French to Italian to German to English to Spanish. Portuguese got thrown in there occasionally, and it was just all, you know, they were just working their way through the different languages. Each sentence was different.
No, the point is didn't the bartender notice you were a pale-face, and why did he serve you if you were out of your cage?
Probably because... it was probably a curiosity on his part. If nothing else, it's like, well, why would, what's going on here? You know, one of those things. Let's find out what they're up to.
Yeah, and because you were with the Indians, you know, he wasn't going to not serve you because the Indians would probably burn him out.
No, he's worried he'd sue him for being a racist.
Yeah, but Jim, if you, can you imagine if there were a bunch of other Indians in there and you guys walked in? It might have been pretty nasty.
Could have been real bad. It could have been very painful. You're right. Absolutely. Because we were just that naive.
Well, how did they mark the demarcation? How would you know?
You wouldn't. That's the whole point. You just wouldn't.
So today...
It was a beard that looked like a rock.
So today it could happen again.
I suppose. I don't know. Theo, honestly, it was just that we were walking down... You know, we took the car into the garage just to have it kind of like a good once-over on it. While they were doing that, we walked up the one street, back a couple blocks and then over, and there was the bar there, and that's when we went in. And we didn't know that we passed the line you're not supposed to pass until we got back and started talking to the guys in the garage.
Yeah. Nowadays, the sign's in English, Spanish, and probably Arabic.
Also.
They could have thought you were some kind of government official, too.
Well, what about later that night? And you went to a party after that? Jim, did you say you went to a party with him after later on?
Yeah, that evening there was a wedding reception, wedding thing there. Actually, it was kind of more like a wedding because the elders blessed them and all that. So yeah, it was a wedding and the party, and that's what we went to into that evening. And yeah, there was a lot of blood on the floor. People got knifed and everything. Yeah, they don't hold their liquor well.
Did they have music at the wedding?
Yeah.
You're saying people were knifing? They were knifing their own?
Yeah.
That's like black people.
Theo, you've never been to Newark or Chicago?
Oh, hell no. You couldn't pay me to go there.
It's going on today.
Well, as far as they didn't knife you guys when you were up there because you weren't part of the tribe, and if they're knifing each other, you guys would have been easy.
No, the tribe already knew that we were going to be there, and since the chief said that we were their honored guests, nobody was going to touch us.
Oh, that's neat.
They get their pee-pee cut off.
Oh, so, on the changing the subject radically, you know that Lorena Bobbitt thing where she cut her husband's dick off?
Yeah, another one happened with head trimming.
Well, at any rate, it died, and they could not save it. Last I knew, they did save it, but it did not take and it did not save.
Is this like the tail of the hand, except it's going to be the tail of the weenus?
I think they gravitated it to her.
They couldn't save it. He's dickless now.
No, I mean, it was off too long, and it was not even cold, so... I mean, how are you going to save that thing when it's out on the road somewhere for hours? Surprised the dog didn't come by and eat it.
Ooh.
So, where do we go with that one?
I don't know.
It's just a radical change. We do that on this band.
Can you imagine the surprise on that guy when he woke up?
Oh, well, I think he would have awakened immediately from the pain.
Pain? I would have thought he would have bled out.
Nah.
No, you don't bleed out from that happening?
Not unless you have a heart on, then the vein opens up.
Okay.
But when you get it cut off, the heart on goes away real quick.
I would think so.
Is this the voice of experience, or?
No, I've just I've cut a bunch of people apart.
He's an MD.
Cadavers. I even went in through the back from the inside and pulled the nuts out backwards. That's what the coroner does.
And what's he looking for when he does that?
Anything unusual. Crack the brain open, look for anything unusual.
He made Democrats was drive him nuts. He cracks it open, there's nothing in it. It's a little peanut.
In fact, I saw an autopsy today where part of the brain was the bottom part of the brain actually grew into the spine.
What caused that?
Some kind of a birth defect, but what it did is it cut off the blood supply to his head, and then all of a sudden he just died immediately, and they had to find out what was wrong with him. And then the coroner that did the work, I think she, trying to think, she had never saw it. It's just a textbook thing, and she's already got 25 years experience about, and it was just so unique. So she called another guy in that's a brain expert, and so he dissected the brain in front of a bunch of students, and they were all pretty much amazed. You just don't see this kind of a problem.
Doesn't the carotid artery supply blood too, not just to the spine?
Yeah, but it's got to go back, and there's several locations.
And also, sometimes you can have masses that grow inside, cancerous growths.
It happens in a very rare case, but no foul play. And he'd been having pain for a couple of years, but nobody bothered to check.
Oh, by the way, Theo, this is going back to the Indians.
Yeah.
They asked us why we were talking to them and everything, and we said, why not? You guys are interesting. And it's like, well, they basically told us that that's generally not done. That we didn't, we just said, well, we're not from around here. And we told them where we were from and everything. And they said, you mean people up there don't have problems with us? It was like, not that I know of.
Wow.
And so they got a big smile on their face at that one. It's like, so that's local.
I never understood why they knew all those foreign languages.
But they were taught them when they went into the military in World War I, because it was realized that the only people that could speak Navajo were Navajos.
Right, so they had a thing within themselves that they spoke Navajo, but why would they know, French and Italian and all that?
The Army taught them the languages so that when they were, like, listening to the lines and everything, not only communicating, but listening to the lines, they could understand the foreign languages so that they could decode anything.
They're smart.
Oh, I see. So they were quasi, well, I wouldn't say spies because they weren't in foreign countries, I guess.
But everybody was tapping into everybody else's lines.
And they're women.
So essentially what you got to was, they learned all the languages so that no matter what language was changed to, they could still decipher it or understand it. But nobody understood Navajo.
Well, they were better than the Enigma machine.
Essentially, because when they went into Navajo, the Germans just basically looked at each other. They had no way they could even try and discern what was being said.
Yeah, there was no way they could solve that mathematically.
Yeah, but
I think they acquired one of these.
But it was a small group of Navajos that could do that.
That was World War I. World War II, they expanded that because it was so successful in World War I.
Looks like the enemy would have figured it out from, you know, the first war to World War II that they needed a couple of Navajos.
Well, come World War II, we threw some more layers of obfuscation in there by having the Navajos not only speak Navajo, but use code words to mean other things.
Yeah. Yeah, World War II was a lot more sophisticated.
And it was the Polish that broke the Enigma machine.
They put the wigwam in the tranny?
Well, I don't think they really broke it. They just got a machine, didn't they?
They got a machine, but they were able to figure out how to set it up so that they could decode whatever's coming through.
Yeah, I think the Germans ended their QSOs with some kind of known phraseology that they finally figured out how to cipher that. Something about Heil Hitler or something, or some weird thing.
You know that our American cryptologist, a very good-looking one, too.
I don't know, I think they ended it with that Austrian corporal bastard.
That's what he said. Hubert Humphrey.
Did you ever see that movie about the guys over in England that were trying to figure out the Enigma machine, and they had all these? I guess it was the beginning of computers, actually.
Oh, the Bletchley Park thing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, what was it? The guy that Turin. I think that was his name, Turin. He was homosexual, so that was in fact, they did several things that were pretty nasty to him, even though he saved their butts big time.
Yeah, and Churchill had this, what did he call that? Not the waxworks, but the something works, where it was like a side department for folks developing specialized weapons that they didn't have to go through all this chain of command. Churchill could just say, make me this or make me that, or somebody could come to him and say, hey, we got this. And I think the bazooka, I think, was come from that group.
Talking about the skunk works?
Hey.
The U.S., we call it skunk works here. I don't know what the Brits called theirs.
It was something like Skunk Works, but yeah, the bazooka and the timed fuse. They started off using some kind of a candy, chocolate candy or something that melted, a little ball that they could put in this thing as a timer in underwater demolition that would dissolve at a certain rate, give the divers a chance to get out of the area before the thing went off.
I do remember reading on that timed fuse. There was a lot of work went into that.
Yeah, they eventually went to some kind of a lead string that had a spring attached to it, and the spring would pull the lead at a given rate, and the lead would expand at a given time, and they called that the L fuse, lead fuse.
They were about the size of a pencil, if I recall.
Yeah, Roger.
You sure it wasn't a piece of tin?
No, it was lead. Lead is a soft metal that will pull apart with torque.
Yeah, so is lead, or tin.
But it takes, there's a great deal of difference between a lead string and a tin string. Is tensile strength.
Lead don't have much of that.
But the main thing was that lead would pull apart by this spring, and it was and it did it systematically each time, about the same time that it would stretch, and then I guess it would pull apart, break, and then when it broke, that spring would hit something and boom.
I think they had a vial of sulfuric acid and a bunch of chlorate in there, or something like that. Theo, you know what that does.
Oh, yeah. No, I've got those. I actually have those. I have copies of all those CDs where they go through all that. I have one hell of an archive on all that stuff.
Yeah, we used to have it up on the FTP site until they said, no, not until you do this. You got to take all your FTP stuff down. So eventually I'll get it back up. I kept everything intact. I have the files. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, Theo, I have all the munitions files and everything else.
Then do you have all the atomic bomb declassified stuff too, or all the people that died and all the things that happened in the labs?
I've got everything. I've got how to make the trigger mechanism and all that.
Oh, yeah. Plus, I've got all the declassified, all the atomic bomb tests where they put the animals there, what they found, and the radiation levels, and all this shit. It's very technical.